JoJo Diaz and Haney?
I like JoJo. I like JoJo. He's down to fight anybody, and he's been there. He's experienced, world champion, former champion. You know, he ain't afraid. He's not ducking anybody. I like that. I like that about him. Haney's got skills, but he's still on the developmental, process. He's still picking up. This is a good fight for Haney, because if he can get through JoJo, that's a big step up for him, and he shows that he's on his way. Again, to show everybody he is one of the best or whatever. But I think JoJo ain't gonna be an easy fight for Haney. Just the way Haney fought Linares. Linares is not in his prime anymore. I mean, he's already way past his prime, and he still gave him a good fight. Still stunned him that one round. So I like JoJo on this one. I'm actually gonna pick JoJo for the win.
Okay.
How do you see the Haney Diaz fight? You think that's easy work for Haney, or is it a tough fight?
Easy work.
You think he puts in work against JoJo Diaz, or that's a tough fight?
I would never go against none of my foes. I would never go against none of my foes. I hope JoJo Diaz knock his ass out.
Fellow Olympian.
That's right.
Right.
He's a fellow Olympian, and he was also someone that I competed against. JoJo was someone who was willing to put it on the line. He knew what he was up against, but he wasn't afraid. He was willing to give it his best and put it on the line. His best wasn't good enough, but I can respect that from a competitor of the sport that I participated in. Gervonta Tank Davis, he ain't willing to put it on the line. He ain't willing to put it on the line. Devin Haney, they talking, but they wasn't willing to put it on the line. They sent bullshit contract, just like they tried to send a bullshit contract with JoJo Diaz. JoJo told him, like, don't send me no bullshit ass contract. That's probably the contract you tried to send Gary Russell. You know what I'm saying? Don't send no bullshit contracts. Send the right contracts, and let's put it on the line. I go with JoJo over Devin Haney.
So he's got a dog in him. He's not going to stop.
Yeah, JoJo got dog. JoJo going dog. JoJo going dog no matter what.
Will that give you a pretty good, if you ever did fight Haney, a pretty good look at him, because he's a southpaw, kind of similar build to you.
Styles make fights.
Right.
Styles make fights. Devin Haney doesn't have the style that I bring. Devin Haney don't bring the style that I bring into the ring. But Styles does make fights. I think it would be a completely different style matchup between JoJo and Devin Haney versus JoJo. It's different. Devin Haney doesn't bring the hand speed. He don't bring the skill set that Mr. Gary Russell Jr. brings. He's a young fighter that's trying to find his way, but he still makes a lot of fucking mistakes that Mr. Gary Russell Jr. does not do. Mistakes that I'm pretty sure JoJo Diaz learned from when he competed against me, because he took what happened from our fight and became a world champion after that by beating Tevin Farmer. Easy. Easy. So it speaks pedigree, it speaks volumes on his pedigree and well as mine. So we'll see.
His experience with you should help him in this fight, right? The speed he's seen.
JoJo would never get in the ring with a fighter that's going to bring the hand speed and the IQ in which that I was bringing.
Does he have some pop, Gary?
JoJo?
Yeah.
JoJo has a little pop. JoJo got a little pop. I never got hit solid by him,
Do you expect both of them to win their fights, Haney and Lopez?
It's hard to say, because the guy he's fighting, he's hungry. And the time he's been waiting to get in that ring with him, he had enough time to work on a lot of stuff.
And he was an Olympian, like you said.
He's a good fighter.
Yeah,
he has something to prove. And them fights like that are dangerous.
You feel like Dev's fight with Diaz could tell us something about a potential Tank fight, because it's a southpaw, similar build?
He's preparing himself. I'm a coach. I watch, I study, and I have the Bible right there. We look at all aspects of how the business side is and getting the person ready to get to the bag, and Tank is the bag.
JoJo versus Devin. I know JoJo, Southern California fighter like yourself. He's up against it. How do you think this fight goes with Haney?
Oh man, I think it's going to be a great fight. It's a great matchup. I'm rooting for JoJo, so I'm hoping JoJo takes the win. But it's going to be an exciting fight for sure. It's a good matchup with both of their styles, so I think it's going to be a great fight overall.
What do you think some of the things he's going to have to do to win the fight against Haney?
I think he's going to have to kind of make it a little physical. I feel like Haney is, of course, he's a great boxer. He's great at that. So I feel like JoJo has to go in there and kind of just rough him up and make it physical and put the pressure on him.
Or I guess what would you do, Sinisi, if you had to fight a fighter longer than you, like Devin?
I would force Devin to come forward because he's good at boxing and fighting backwards, side to side, but make him come forward and feel uncomfortable and kind of trap him and set him up for certain shots by making him come forward. Yeah, and be physical on the inside. Work in the inside, body, head. Tie him up when you have to, and just make it rough for him. Yeah, that's what I would do.
It sounds hard to get a boxer to come to you. How do you make that happen? How do you make them take the step forward?
I mean, it's all just fighting smart. Being he's got to fight smart for sure. I know both of them know that they do. Both have to be very cautious and very smart. So I feel like JoJo's capable of that. He has enough experience. He has the Olympic experience. He has all that. So I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
Diaz Jr., former Olympian and world champion, he became interim, and now he hasn't asked for his shot. Instead, he's allegedly negotiating with Ryan. So it's like, normally when you're the mandatory, you take your shot. No one wants a shot at Haney. What do you know? You've been in the ring with him. How dangerous is he?
No. He's dangerous. He's dangerous because he's got this combination, a lot like Roy Jones. Roy Jones had the combination of speed, this athleticism and quickness and reflexes that were outmatched. I'm not saying that Devin Haney is the next Roy Jones or is Roy Jones. For a long time, people were saying he could be the next Mayweather. He's the next Devin Haney. Devin Haney is dangerous because he can fight off of the back foot, but he can come in at you. He can come at you at the same time. He's rangy. He's got speed. He's intellectually, he's right there. He's the complete package as a fighter. Maybe if anything, he's lacking power. And with that being said, it's only a matter of time before that kicks in as well. He's still a young man, So I think when we talk about him being avoided, and we talk about the names that you just said, Diaz and Garcia, when you take a look at that, those guys are going to make more money fighting each other than they are Devin Haney. So you still, even though we may not get a fight that we want, we still got to figure out a way to understand it, and one way to understand it is economically.
The Devin Haney fight coming up in the top of December. How do you feel about
that's a tough one for me. There's two things going on there. And I know all these guys take this stuff personal. You should not.
Yeah.
You signed up for this. Right. People gonna talk about you. Some people gonna say something you like. Other people gonna say something you don't like. That's what I mentioned up there. It's just opinions, right? So here we got Devin, ultra talented fighter, born in the gym, basically. Been around some of the greatest trainers, the greatest trainers in the world. Everybody from Mayweather to Roy Jones Jr., greatest fighter, Roy Jones Jr., to greatest fighter in the world, Floyd Mayweather Jr., right? He's been around all of these great people. I even spent a year or two in the gym with him, right? He's been around, so he's absorbed so much from being with these people. I used to say, if you go to college, you can learn a lot of things from a book, but if you are also able to travel the world and go places and experience things, you can learn a lot of things through the experiences. So you balance that out, right? So this kid's got all these great experiences with all these great people, right? Now, switch it over to JoJo. I was with JoJo for a year in Colorado Springs on the Olympic team. I was the technical coach for the 2012 Olympic team. Pound for pound on that team, no knock against anybody, my job was to do an assessment on everybody on the team and also an assessment on everyone that we were going to fight. Not who was just in the tournament, but who had medaled in any tournament leading up to that or even in the previous Olympics. So I had to look at film from guys from 2008 all the way up to 12, because some of the guys from 8 was returning again in 12. Alexander Usyk, who we got a decision over, was one of those guys. He was on the 08 team, came back and got a medal, right? So got the gold, no less. So that was my job. Pound for pound, JoJo was the most technically sound fighter on the team. Right? And he's had all these experiences of national tournaments, going to world championships, going to the Olympics. So this is what's going on between him and Devin, the ultra talent, and then this guy who's fundamentally extremely sound and been to all of these different tournaments. So I haven't decided who I'm going to go with. I mean, who I think is going to win that fight, but it's going to be a great match.
Devin going to win because Devin is not going to play JoJo's game. See, Devin
well, let me say this. Let me say this. And this is from my experiences with both guys. I spent time in the gym with Devin for a couple of years. I spent time with JoJo for a year and traveled to other countries with him, Azerbaijan and these different places that we went, right? The ultra talented kid in Devin will probably prevail in this fight, but I haven't went back to study that to see how much they've changed since I actually worked with them. So if you pressing me to the, I'm saying Devin, but I know what JoJo is bringing to the table. But I want to see what has changed since then, because that's a long time. That's a long time since 2012 to now. Same thing.